Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Champs Drink Champs podcast. I am here solo today. This is Shelby, and we are here for a Cheers to Careers episode. If you are caught up on the podcast, you know that I do like a mini series about work-related topics. So that's what this one is. And if you're also caught up on the podcast, you know that I'm going through it lately at work. Hate that I'm in this position right now, but and also I'll try not to let my closet feminism come out, but like such is the way of a lady in the workforce. So, today's topic is called the old corporate fuck, because it doesn't matter if you're working in a corporate business situation. I think people are getting fucked left and right at their jobs all the time. Like, I think as women, it happens to us way more than men. Um, but also when it comes to corporate environments, I think it happens way more often than it should. So that is what we're going to break down today, is basically what is the corporate fuck, and also what to do when it's happening to you, because your girl's going through it right now, and the amount of times I've been through it is so annoying, but here we are and we shall proceed. So, what does it mean, basically? Um, what it really means is like going through mistreatment, demotions, being passed up for promotions or opportunities at work. It can mean you're laid off. It can mean you're passed up for projects. It can mean being removed or excluded from meetings or conversations that you need to be part of. Not getting the raise that you're asking for or getting the pay that you deserve, those types of things. So sometimes it can also mean like basically someone that was doing the same thing as you, maybe didn't work as hard as you, gets the promotion, and then they start screwing you over. That's also a huge corporate fuck. So it can mean a lot of things, but basically what I want you guys to know is like this happens all the time. It's not just happening to you. I think sometimes we feel like we're the only ones that go through this situation. And it definitely is not the case. So it's happening all the time. I think it happens to men as well as women, but I truly think it happens more to women. So know that you're not alone, and know that it's okay to feel upset and frustrated and angry and disappointed and unsure about your future. Like, am I going to stay at this job? Should I be here? What do I do? All of those things are completely normal. And I think you should go through all of those emotions, because like you're spending so much time, money, effort to be in the position that you're in. Like, you're working hard every day, you're showing up for work. And when things like this happen, it can feel really, really shitty. So I hope you know that like your feelings are completely validated. They are normal. You should have them. If you don't have them, like that's another weird situation. I don't even know what that would mean, but like maybe you're disassociating. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much what I want to start with, is like it's a lot. It's a lot to process, and it's not fun to go through this. I personally have gone through it so many times at my previous job. I'm going through it a little bit right now at my current job, and it's a lot to process. And like I said, if you're caught up on the podcast, like the last episode I recorded with Taylor, I basically mentioned like my work is my identity. Like, it's who I am. It's what ignites my fire. It's my passion. And when that's taken away from me, it's really a lot. Or when I'm fighting tooth and nail to make my way in a man's world and it continues to be fucked over, it sucks. So you have to understand that it's happening all the time, know that you're not alone, and know that your feelings are totally validated. Before we get too much further into the old corporate fuck, I want to make sure that you know that this episode is not going to be about a toxic work environment, illegal or unethical behavior. That's for another episode, which I totally have planned, because God, girlfriend's been there too. So this episode is more about being wronged, and how to process it, and then also like what to do to channel all of these emotions that we just talked about, all the feelings that we are going to experience. That's what I want to break down in this, and kind of walk you through some steps that you have on how to process, handle, and like deal with this. Like I said, it's not for the toxic, illegal or unethical behavior at workplaces, because that shit happens all the time. I do plan to do an episode about that, but if that's the situation that you are like, oh, wait, I wanted to get that information, that's actually like a huge thing and more of like an HR situation. And if you can't go to your HR, then that's a huge other factor of like, you just really shouldn't be working there, because if you can't go to HR to solve your problems, like there's bigger problems. So now that that is out of the way, basically, I guess what is hard to process with this and like where to start, because this topic could go so many places. I'm basically going to just give a quick breakdown of what I'm going through currently at work, and use it to kind of channel like what it is that you've experienced. So I'll give a few examples from my previous employment throughout the episode, and then also like what I'm going through right now. So use your personal experience, but know that like I'm just sharing mine to help you understand like the steps so that we have a scenario to go off of, rather than me just like giving a list and like going from there. So right now at work, I started working here a year and a half ago, and I signed on for a certain job. I was doing certain tasks, had certain responsibilities, and I had a certain career track that was talked about, promised to me. It all comes down to like our growth here, and all of these different things. So like that's what I signed up for. That's the job I applied for. That's the job I'm excited about. That's the job I still love. It's part of what I went to school for. I went to school for business administration management, and I love business. Like that's just who I am. And right now, my job is to manage the day-to-day functions of the business. I'm an operations manager, and I focus on multiple departments right now. Eventually that changes over time. But right now I'm doing the tasks of all of these different departments. So what has happened now is I started getting excluded from conversations, me and the other operations managers in different parts of the world. We started being excluded from some bigger conversations, and then there was a restructuring that was announced with like new global directors, and they're going to change some stuff up and X, Y, and Z. That turns out that they're taking a huge chunk of our tasks and responsibilities, departments that we were working in and doing tasks in that we had complete ownership in. They're taking those and giving them to other people, giving us different things and putting us in a different department. So right now they're trying to move me to an HR department, which like I do HR, I oversee HR, I can manage HR, but it's not what I went to school for, and it's not what I want to do long term. It's also not the job I signed up for. I fucking hate HR. Really good at it, but I hate it. So all of these things start being announced and basically like told to us, like, this is what we're doing, this is where you're going. And that was a huge red flag for me. I was like, excuse you, like we didn't have a conversation about this. It impacted my direct report. She works in Brazil. She loves to do HR. That's where she wants to go long term. And they're taking her completely out of HR and putting her in something completely different that she actually hates and isn't very good at. And then for me, they're taking me out of all of the side that I like and putting me somewhere else because someone decided somewhere they're going to make this decision. So basically that's kind of like what's unfolding, and it was just kind of told to us. So what happened from there is I've had meetings, I've had conversations, I'm doing the Lord's work, trying to bring clarity to the situation, try to find understanding and all of these things. But like, I'm still headed down that path. I'm still moving to the HR department. I'm still going in this direction. And so I've gone through a million different meetings, different conversations, a ton of like, what the fucks. And now here we are processing it and dealing with it still. So that's like a current scenario that these steps will help you with. But then also in my previous job, I had plenty of things where I wasn't getting the promotions, I wasn't getting the job opportunities. I would be included in certain conversations and then excluded from conversations, or I would be in the meeting and a vital part, but then certain people came in the room and it was suddenly like, I'm not as important. I'm now the note taker and I don't have a seat at the table, or more people would come in and there wouldn't be enough chairs and they'd be like, okay, Shelby, can you go sit back at the desk and like make sure we have notes about everything, instead of like, oh, Shelby needs a chair, let's make sure we have like enough space. It was more of like, put her in the back. So a bunch of things like that have happened to me. A lot of times I didn't get the raises I deserved. Right now I'm definitely having a demotion. They're not calling it, they're not taking my pay away. we're not changing the title yet, but that's like on the table at some point. Like I'm straight up getting a demotion. I'm losing my direct reports. I'm losing my leadership opportunities, my management opportunities. Like it's a lot. Definitely not what I signed up for. So I think that there's just a lot that can happen in work where certain people get promotions before you, or they're getting opportunities that you're not getting, or you're being excluded, or people are constantly going around you, and then you're having to do a lot of work to catch back up and get back, like looped back in. Or people are lazy and you're doing all the work. And it's frustrating. So I don't know, there's so many examples, so I don't want to waste too much time on that because I'm on the unpaid version of Zoom to make sure that I don't blabber for too long. That's like my challenge to myself, is to not log into our paid version so that I can bust these episodes out for you, because I could talk about business and careers and all of those things literally for hours. So those are just a few examples. Um, yeah. Okay. So basically, when you're going through a situation like this, I already talked about it. It's a lot. It's a huge, huge impact on your emotions, your career, your future, your income. It's a it's a whole what the fuck moment. And it happens all the time, big or small, and it continues to happen over and over again. So the first thing that I would say to do is, when the conversation is happening and you start hearing this information, or somebody tells you and you're hearing it third party, like whatever the situation is, as you're getting the information, my first step to you is do not react in an emotional state. And I know that's so much harder to like say than do, but do not react in the moment. Absorb the information. Let them tell you the information. Let somebody tell you the information. Stop, breathe, gather your thoughts, ask any immediate questions that come up that aren't like overly emotional questions. Like if you need to get some facts straight because you need to process, like take it as an opportunity to be like, okay, that's news to me. And then from there, tell them, like if they're like, so what questions do you have? Let them know, like, I need some space to process this. I need some time to process everything that you're telling me. I'm going to get back to you. I will get back to you by the end of the day. I'll get back to you tomorrow. I'll schedule a meeting in 2 days. Like whatever time frame is fitting for like the environment you are in, let them know that. Like be like, this is a lot for me to process. I want to make sure that I'm processing it correctly. I'm going to take a like some time. If they do not allow you time to process this, huge red flag that this is like a toxic place, and they're trying to put you in a corner. They either want you to blow up and react, or they can't handle because they know they're fucking you over and they want to know exactly what you're thinking and feeling in that moment, and they will push. So do your absolute best, find your zen, calm yourself down, whatever it is that you need to do, and then say, I'll circle back to you. I'm going to get back to you. Ask whatever like questions you have in the moment that are not emotional questions of like, let me get my facts straight of what you just said. And a huge thing that you can do is repeat back to them. Let me understand, like, let me see if I'm understanding you correctly. That's like a good way to say it. Like, here's what I heard that you're saying is happening. And then repeat that back to them. If they validate it or add something. And if you have any other questions, gather those details and then end the conversation. Be like, all right, thank you so much. I will get back to you by X, Y, and Z, whatever you come up with. I'll circle back. I just need like a moment to process this and get all my questions together so we're not wasting time. And that I'm not acting, like you can even say like, so that I'm not reacting in an emotional state of like just processing this information. Like there's literally nothing wrong with that. So that's the first numero uno, what you should do when something like this is coming. I don't care who's telling you it. I don't care if it's in an official meeting or a friend's like, oh my God, I just heard this. What the fuck? And you're hearing it like that way. Stay calm, find your zen, and like process. So hold on, I gotta take a sip of wine. Okay. From there, the next thing I would encourage you to do is to take some time to process. Before you start gathering more information, getting your facts in order, all of those things, you need to assess the situation. So objectively assess what's going on, assess what's going on, and try and find reasons for what decision is being made. So find a reason behind the mistreatment, the demotion, the missed opportunities, for whatever it is that they told you. Try to retrace steps. So look back and be honest with yourself. Like look back at the last 6 to 12 months, look back to like your performance, look back to certain things that you can pick up and be like, oh, I should have seen this coming, or I saw this, or remember that meeting where I was like, what the fuck is going on? All of those types of things. Like use this time to go inward, like go inward and process and like really and like take notes. Like the amount of notes that I'll like randomly write down too of just like, oh my God, like this thought or this thought, whatever. So do what you need to do to find clarity. And then from there, like once you've taken that time to like process, be honest with yourself, evaluate yourself and your performance, all of those different things. At that point, I would say like seek to understand, try and find clarity from whoever you can. If you know people in leadership that you trust, that you can have a conversation with, or if you have peers that are going through the same thing, like I had meetings with all of the people that were being impacted by this. And I was like, hey, so what is it that you were told? Like, what's going on with you? What thoughts do you have? Like, am I seeing this differently? Am I understanding this wrong? Am I taking this too personally? Like, seek to understand and find out what is going on. Like, the more information that you can gather, the more prepared and informed you'll be to be able to come back to that conversation with leverage and with power, like you actually have an understanding and you're not being thrown at, like the information's not being thrown at. You're like, oh, okay, like now I know for myself and I've had time to reflect. I've had time to like get my emotions out, like whatever it is. So one of the things like I usually do is if it's happening to peers, I'll reach out to them. If other people might know a situation, like I know somebody that's in certain meetings, I'll see if they know anything. If it's really bad, you can ask HR. You can be like, what the heck? Like, I'm completely blindsided. I think I've been passed up for opportunities that I deserve, like whatever. You always have avenues and you always have people. But the thing I would say with that though too is like limit your venting. Do not make it a vent session. Do have these conversations and do seek to understand and find information, but it's not a vent session. It is not for you to be like completely losing your shit because it's impacting your life and you're emotional and it's upsetting. It's not an opportunity for that. It's an opportunity for you to gain clarity, to get advice, to maybe have a moment where someone tells you like, actually, yeah, like this is what I see from your performance or whatever the situation is, So like you have people, but know that it's not a vent session. And the other thing I would say with that is like, if you aren't willing to say the things that you're saying to these people, to your management, your leadership, whoever it is that's dictating what's happening, if you're not willing to say that to them in your meeting, and go toe to toe with like, yes, this is my feeling, this is my thought, this is where I'm coming from, then do not speak those words. And this is hard for me because I have no fear when it comes to like speaking my mind and speaking up in like situations of like wrong, right, injustice, whatever. Hello, Enneagram 1. But I know for sure, like when I'm having these conversations to seek to understand and to get information, I know when I'm saying something to somebody else, I already know I'm planning to say it to them. I just am going to say it probably a little bit more respectfully, with a little bit more tact, rather than like the heated, what the fuck is going on personality. Like it's okay that I can say it that way to my friend at work, but I already know that I'm not going to say it in that level to them, but I'm going to say it. So I would just give you the advice of like, if you're not willing to say it, what you're venting about or talking about or trying to understand to your management or to your boss or whoever the person is, then don't say it, especially to somebody at work. So maybe you say it to your husband, maybe you say it to a best friend that doesn't work with you. Like that's okay. But if you're going to speak about any of this internally with people in the office, you have to be prepared that they will either repeat that or it's going to get around. So if you're not willing to say it later in the right room, then don't say it at all. Wow, I sounded like a grandparent. You don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Which is actually like pretty good advice. Anyways, moving on. So once you've had that step taken care of and you're processing, which like this is a thing that you're going to continue to process. So don't think that these are like, okay, now I went to step A, now I'm going to step B. Like it doesn't work like that. This is going to be like a list of things that you're going to continuously do throughout the process, and you'll probably go back to certain stages. You'll get to one stage and you'll go back. So don't take it as like, okay, once I do this, then I do this, and then you're done with it. You will be processing, assessing all of those things consistently throughout this. Okay. Next thing, is you need to take care of yourself. This one is something that I do really well when I am backed into a corner and I feel like I'm losing my mind. So I slow down. I take things off of my list. I don't force myself to occupy my time because I know if I do that, then I'm not going to be spending the time I need to be focused on the situation that I'm trying to solve. So take time for your self-care, maintain your health and fitness habits. Do not let yourself lose your shit during this moment, because if you start losing yourself, you've accepted defeat. So take the time for the self-care, but keep your good habits and keep doing the things that make you the best version of yourself. Because if you start getting depressed, if you start falling into like a slump, it's you basically have given them exactly what they wanted. So, what I do usually is, like I said, I slow down. I take things off of my to-do list. I sleep in. I spend more time with like my mindfulness. I will go be outside in nature. I will not listen to a podcast while I'm getting ready for work. I'll let it be silent in my room or my bathroom when I'm showering or whatever, so that I can like truly have my only thoughts and like just myself, because it's easy to get covered up in a podcast or a book or music and not think about the thing that I need to be thinking about. So those are just some of the things that I do. I don't really seek advice from people. I think that that could be really helpful for some people. That's not really like my MO. I am more of a like, I am more than willing to share with people what's happening, but I'm not sharing with them to solve my problem. I'm sharing in like a what the fuck is going on and now I have to deal with this. I'm more of like an internal processor. I process a lot all the time in my brain. I solve all of my problems usually before I even talk to people, or I already have like an understanding of where my feelings are before I like have opened up about the situation. So if you're somebody that like needs to speak to somebody about it to like be able to like process and get support and all of those things, like find those people. I love talking about business. So if you ever need somebody, slide into my DMs. I will light your ass up and get you ready for these meetings, because this is my jam and my favorite thing to talk about. But yeah, call your sister, call your mom, talk to your boyfriend, whatever it is. If you have old coworkers that get you and know how you work, like talk to them. So, okay, let's see. Let me check my notes so I don't get lost. Also, I should check my time to make sure I'm not getting crazy. Okay, so I'll also take a sip of wine. Okay. The next thing I would say is, all right, this is the hard part. You have to start figuring out what it is that you want to, what outcome you want. So this is where you need to start being like, A, am I okay with this? B, I'm okay, but I have some questions. C, I'm actually like totally not okay with this. And I need to fucking lose my mind on somebody because I'm not allowing this to happen. Like wherever you fall in all of these categories, you need to figure out what outcome you are looking for. If you're just looking to get understanding of like why this is happening, great. Start making a list of what questions you want to ask, what clarity you need, what this means for your future, why this happened, why they made this decision, whatever it is. Make a list of the questions, and then you have to actually ask for the meeting. So I use ChatGPT a lot, and I used it to help me craft an email to my boss, who's the CEO, of like, hey, as you know, a bunch of stuff is going on. I've made it very clear with you that this is where I want to go with my future, and now you're moving me to this other thing. And I requested a meeting to talk about it like as soon as possible. And I think that's actually something, let me back up, that I think is crucial is you need to always be as upfront with your employment as possible of like what it is that you want out of your career, what it is that's making you show up every day. Do you want different opportunities? Are you searching for new projects? Are you trying to get growth opportunities? Like my boss knows that I'm a hard worker and that I don't want to work in HR. We've already had the conversation. So he knows where I'm coming from and he's not blindsided by my email when I'm like, hey, we've been having these discussions. I'd really like to understand, did our company strategy change? Where did this decision come from? X, Y, and Z. So like, don't throw them this crazy email requesting these things where you're like completely off base to them because you haven't been open in your communication before. So that's just like a side note. So, okay. So after that, you need to reach out and get your meeting scheduled to have the conversation. It's best to have it in person, but I work remote, so mine was virtual. If you can do it in person, that's always preferred. Figure out who needs to be in that meeting. Who are the people? You should usually have someone that kind of is on your side if possible, and then the people that are making the decision. And you need to be prepared to ask the hard questions. So get straight to the point, like be direct in your questions, have them written down, have notes, prepare to know exactly what it is that you need to know to process this and figure out what the next stages are and what this means for your future. And are you going to be staying there? Like all of these different things. So once you have your meeting and you're getting ready, like the biggest thing that I want to emphasize is like, be prepared to fight for yourself. Be prepared to stand up for yourself and others. If other people, like in my situation, the other people impacted by this, they have different cultures and they aren't willing to stand up for themselves because they're very worried about their jobs. I mean, same, but like I don't get the feeling that I'm going to be fired for raising my voice, and they shouldn't either, but that's like a cultural thing. One of them was like if he lost his job by standing up for himself, like he'd have to move away from his city like within a couple of days. Like he wouldn't even be allowed to be there. Another one, their culture is they just don't speak up. Like it's just not a thing, especially women. So be prepared to fight for yourself and be prepared to fight for other people if it's impacting them. If you can get more people to speak up with you, that's for sure preferred. But if it's just you, like be prepared to stand alone and be prepared and confident to go to bat for yourself and ask for things that you deserve. If you do these things respectfully and you approach this in a professional way, there's no way that they're just going to shut you out and mistreat you and fire you and all these things that you tell yourself might happen. If they do, that's probably a fucking blessing in disguise, because I know it would suck in the moment, but you do not want to be working there. Like they just saved you from like more years and like time off of your like life because you are slaving away for terrible people. So I think that's like the biggest thing. Like once you get to this stage, be prepared to go to bat for yourself and ask for the things that you need and ask for the things that you want out of your career. Because if you're willing to give to a company and you are willing to show up and like fight for and ask questions and ask, like, I'm looking out for the company, I'm looking out for myself, like all of these things. I just want to understand and I want to understand how I fit into this. They're not going to see that as a negative. And if they do, again, don't work there. Let them fire you. But they're going to see that as like, okay, this girl's invested and she actually cares about herself, her career, her company, our success, like all of these things. Like if you have tact and professional maturity, this isn't a bad thing to do. It's scary. It's not comfortable. It's not fun to call management out, and it's not fun to have to fight for yourself over and over again. But I promise you, it's totally worth it. So with that, communicate effectively, communicate assertively, professionally, highlight the importance of why you want to seek clarity in this, why you want understanding, why you need help understanding why this is happening, and let them know like this sucks. Like multiple times in my situations, I've always been very vocal of like, this is not like, you have to understand why I'm coming at you with this, because like this isn't great for me. Like if you were in my shoes, or if you heard information this way, or if you were told in this way, or you found out in this way, like whatever it is that's going on, help them see that you're a human, humanize them and throw it back on them. Like one of the things that you can do is like, okay, sir at the top, if this happened to you and you had this job and you've been busting your ass and doing all these things, and then one day they make a change and they come in and say, oh, actually, you don't have a job anymore, or actually, we're moving you to this department, how would you feel? Ask them, put questions back on them, because I guarantee you they'll be like, oh, shit. Yeah, I wouldn't like that. So I think the more that you can humanize yourself, have emotion with it, but not like overly emotional, like status about like, oh my gosh, I'm so upset. I can't even continue, blah, blah, blah. Like, don't be a psycho emotional person, but like have emotions, humanize yourself, and also throw questions at them. Pepper them with questions. They will fucking hate it and love it all at the same time. And they will be backed into a corner the way that they backed you into a corner. So ask these questions, take notes, and let them know, like, if you go quiet, like, oh, this is also a really good thing. If you ask questions or they ask questions and it's silent, let there be silence. Silence is like such a good thing. It makes people so uncomfortable. And if you need to like fill the silence because you're uncomfortable, have your notepad and be like, okay, I'm just taking notes, and like let them sit in the uncomfortable space. So you can just like make random notes yourself. Like you don't really need that note, but like make it if that makes you feel more comfortable, because they will feel so stressed by the silence and they will be even more stressed that you're peppering them with questions. If they're good questions. If they're dumbass questions, they're gonna be like, you're a fucking idiot and this is why this happened. So okay. I think I already mentioned it. This is just another note, but like keep your personal emotions out of it. So with a lot of what I'm dealing with, I'm trying to not take it personal. And I think that's the biggest thing that I can do to help keep my emotions in check, is to not take this personal. It's not a personal attack on me. Some employment places, that is for sure a thing. There will be personal attacks on you, and you have to identify, like, that's when you go back to that reflection assessing stage. Like, is this a personal attack? Does this keep happening all the time? I know for sure that if I can see it as what it is instead of a thing happening to me or against me, or like this personal attack, it's easier for me to find the clarity that I need to sort through the situation and have clarity on what I want out of the situation, what things I need to see, what do I want out of my career. But if I'm taking it personal, I'm only seeing it as a personal attack, and my emotions are super, super elevated, and I will never be able to speak to them in a professional manner because I'll just be taking it personal. So do what you can to keep your personal emotions out of it. Let's see. I have two different notes, so sorry. I'm a chaos person. Okay. Next thing I would say, okay, so this one, I guess the rest of these are kind of come after you've had that initial meeting and you've gained the understanding and you have the information that you need, or even if you don't like the decision, you have more information because you've gotten to this stage. This is where I would encourage you to seek opportunities. Like, I've made it very clear with my company right now, like, you've passed me up for opportunities right now. You're not using me to my full capacity. I have more in me. Let me help. Let me be part of this. Like, please include me more, give me growth opportunities, see what opportunities you can find within the company if you want to be there, and let them know, like, I'm here for more growth opportunities. I'm here to learn. I'm here for new challenges. I'm here. And that's what I told them. Like, I will go down this path with you, and I'm going to entertain what it is that's going on. I'll be very vocal with you as things come up. I'll always tell you guys where I'm at, but like, I don't enjoy what's happening. I'm willing to see where this goes, because theoretically for my situation, it's temporary. So like, I am letting them know though, like, I have capacity. Like, if you have projects, if you have a need, like, please know that like I have other skills, even though you're putting me in this box to the left. So I would always, if you want to like, if you want to show them that you're still dedicated to the company and that you aren't trying to resist the change, you want to understand it. You also want to let them know, like, I'm here for more opportunities and I want to know what opportunities I can come up, like, or what opportunities can come my way. Please make sure you share that. And then I think from here, the biggest thing that's important to do is like evaluate your place in the company, evaluate your career there, evaluate how many times this has happened. Is this a company that just does this over and over again and you know it's going to happen again? Evaluate what it is that you want out of your career. I plan to do an episode about like, you think you want to change your careers or like changing careers. That was actually supposed to be the next episode I recorded for this mini series, but then life threw me a curveball. So now you're getting like the real raw in the moment stuff. So in this moment, figure out what it is that you want, what goals you have. And that's what I made very clear with my management of like, you guys know where I'm trying to go in life. And like, this does not align with my career goals. It doesn't align with this income I plan to have. It doesn't align with where I was going. It doesn't align with what I applied for, whatever it is. However, that's when you also have the chance to evaluate the company, evaluate what is really happening. Again, not to you, but maybe it's an opportunity that can give you some growth or some new skills, or is it just temporary? Like, whatever it is. So I'm pretty new to this company and this is the first time it's happened. So I'm willing to give it a little bit more time. I also know the potential that is happening in my region. I know what I was hired for, and I see that on the horizon. And so that's part of why I'm more willing to like stick it out. Trust me though, I've been like, do I need to find a new job? And I've been looking, but like nothing feels right for my like intuition, and I'm not at that place yet where I want to. So from there, just kind of evaluate like what it is that you want, what goals you have. Um, yeah, like just sit with yourself a little bit and be like, do I actually want to work here? Is this the company I want? Is this the position I want? Am I actually doing what makes me happy? Like these are conversations for you to have and like really reevaluate your goals. What's your career priority? And with this setback, like how does this work? Can you keep going up? Is this going to totally put you in a box and you can't go anywhere? So you can pivot, you can change, you can revamp your resume, and you can start looking, settle into the situation, be a team player and go on this journey with them, and then bounce if you have to. Like that's totally up to you. Go with what you want out of life. What are your aspirations? What are your values? Have they fucked you over too much? Like if you don't want the corporate fuck anymore, then fuck them. Like go find a new job. So, okay. After that, the last thing I have is like make a decision. Like if you sit in limbo for too long, you'll go crazy. So decide, am I willing to go on this journey? Am I okay with what happened? Did what happened make it so I can't continue on, or am I going to just keep reeling over the situation? So make a decision about, I'm okay with this, I made peace with it, or yeah, fuck you guys, and I'm leaving. So if you don't do that, I think that you'll constantly go through this motion. And yeah, you won't really feel settled. You'll just constantly be pissed. You'll be going through all these emotions all over again. You'll go through these steps over and over again. So make a decision, make peace with the decision that you're making. And maybe you make a decision and you feel like you're at peace. And as you start exploring the decision you made and it's not working, know that you can pivot. You can change that decision. You don't have to just keep going on that path. Like if you say, I'm going to leave, and you start searching and you're like, fuck, there's nothing, guess what? You can start back over again. You don't have to jump immediately. You don't have to do something immediately, but you need to decide, am I okay with this? Make peace with it. Am I not okay with it? Make peace with it and figure out what your next steps are going to be. And just know that like you can do anything. Like your career is yours. And it's up to you to decide what your career journey is. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have. I know it was a lot and I know I talked so fast, but hopefully it can give you guys some guidance. I'm gonna do a little post for the socials so that you can have this as a reference, save it. I always save collections in my Instagram. Like I have one that's for work. So if I need like motivations or reminders, that's where I save those. So maybe that's something you can do with this post I make. And then I have an asking for a friend. Hashtag asking for a motherfucking friend. What do you do at work when you have a friend that's your coworker that isn't happy with your success or your promotions and they almost backstab you? Which like this totally goes against a little bit of what we're talking about, but like also with it. Been there, done that. If you have people like that at work, that's your friend in quotation marks. And I say it in quotation marks because if they were your friend, they would be happy for your success. And we just had National Women's Day and I already plan to talk about this on the next episode, but like, we've got to stop tearing each other down. Like clap for the fucking women that are succeeding. If they took you down while they were succeeding, then you weren't friends to begin with. So like evaluate what friend really means. Just because they're a coworker doesn't always make them a friend. And if they're not happy and like wanting you to be successful, if they're competing with you, it's the same thing outside of the office. If you have friends that are competing with you or not clapping for you, like they're not your friends. So if you are experiencing this, which I definitely have, like, take that as an opportunity to start distancing yourself. Take the fucking promotion, take the success, don't be petty back, don't try and make them fail, don't throw them under the bus, but know who you're dealing with. Know that they're going to talk shit. Know that they're not going to want you to have promotion. They're probably going to try and sabotage you whenever they can. You can still be kind to them. You don't have to be like, no, stay away, I'm not talking to you, ghost them, whatever. But stop being so open with them. Stop sharing all the details with them. Put a boundary in place and respect them the way that they're respecting you. And you do that by distancing yourself and finding a new corporate best friend. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you fucking pray for me and my journey, because I'll be praying for you. And I pray that all of us stop getting corporate fucked, because it sucks ass. And yeah, if you liked anything about this episode, let me know. I'd love to chat with you guys about these things. Like I said, it's my absolute favorite topic. And besides wine, probably, and cheese. But yeah, slide into my DMs. I will be there for you. I will be your corporate bestie. I'll help you navigate these things, and also hope that we all can survive these things. Share it with a friend, like, subscribe, all the things that Taylor always tells you guys to do that I'm not good at telling you to do. And we will talk to you next time. Bye.